The war had left the planet in ruins. Smoke curled into the purple sky as the last of the battle cruisers vanished into the stars. The invaders were gone, but so was nearly everyone else. Among the rubble, a human scavenger moved carefully. His name was John, a freelance trader who had come too late to profit and too early to avoid the aftermath. He picked through broken machinery, hoping to salvage something valuable. Then he heard it, a soft, whimpering sound. John froze. He wasn't alone. Following the noise, he pushed aside a collapsed metal beam. Beneath it, curled together in fear, were two small figures. Their skin was a deep blue, their large eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Children. Alien children. They flinched as he approached, but they didn't run. The taller one, a boy, held his sister close, staring at John with a mix of defiance and desperation. John knelt, keeping his hands visible. "Hey, it's okay. I won't hurt you." The girl sniffed, her tiny fingers clutching a strange pendant around her neck. The boy hesitated, then spoke in a shaky voice. You are human?" John nodded. "Yeah. And you two are the only ones I've found alive here." The twins exchanged a glance. Then, as if deciding together, the boy whispered, "We have nowhere to go." John sighed, looking at their torn clothes and dust-covered faces. He had never planned on being a father, especially not to alien orphans. But leaving them here was unthinkable. "All right," he said, holding out a hand. "You're coming with me." The girl hesitated, then took his hand. The boy followed, still wary but with a flicker of hope in his eyes. As John led them to his ship, he had no idea that these twins carried a secret, one that would change all their lives forever. The hum of the ship's engines filled the silence as John guided the alien twins through the corridors. The boy, who had introduced himself as Kale, kept close to his sister, Lyra, their glowing eyes scanning the unfamiliar surroundings with a mix of wonder and fear. John had cleaned them up as best he could, given their strange physiology. Their skin was smooth but slightly cooler to the touch than a human's, and their fingers ended in small, delicate claws. They spoke Galactic common well enough, though with an accent he didn't recognize. "Where are you taking us?" Kale asked, his voice quiet but firm. John sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "My place isn't much, just a small outpost on Terra 9. But it's safe. And you'll have food, a place to sleep." Lyra clutched her pendant tighter. "Will there be others like us?" John hesitated. He hadn't seen many of their kind before. "I don't know. But I'll help you find out, okay?" Terra 9 was a backwater colony, far from the core worlds. Its streets were dusty, its buildings patched together from scrap metal and salvaged tech. Humans dominated the population, with a few other species mixed in, traders, mercenaries, and drifters passing through. As John led the twins through the settlement, curious eyes followed them. Whispers spread. "Since when do aliens that young wander around here? That human's got a death wish, picking up strays like that." John ignored them, ushering Kale and Lyra into his modest living pod. It was cramped but clean, with a small kitchen unit, a fold-out bunk, and a holoscreen flickering with old news feeds. "Home sweet home," he muttered. The twins stood awkwardly in the center of the room. Lyra's fingers traced the edge of her pendant, a smooth, silver disc etched with strange symbols. John noticed. "That's a nice piece. Family heirloom?" Kale stiffened. "It's all we have left." John nodded, deciding not to push. "Right. Well, you two must be starving. Let's see what I've got." He rummaged through his ration packs, pulling out a few protein bars and a pouch of synthesized fruit gel. The twins eyed the food warily but accepted it. To his surprise, they ate without complaint, though Lyra made a face at the artificial sweetness. That night, as John tried to sleep, he heard hushed voices from the other side of the room. "Do you think he's lying?" Lyra whispered. "I don't know," Cale replied. "But we have no choice." John frowned but stayed silent. He wasn't sure what he'd gotten himself into. 3 weeks passed. The twins slowly adjusted. Cale was sharp, quick to learn human tech, asking endless questions about ships and weapons. Lyra was quieter, but her eyes missed nothing. She watched the colony's inhabitants like a strategist, noting who was kind and who was dangerous. Then, the first strange thing happened. John had taken them to the market, bartering for supplies. A hooded figure, tall, with faintly shimmering skin, suddenly froze when passing them. His gaze locked onto Lyra's pendant. "Where did you get that?" the stranger hissed. Cale immediately stepped in front of his sister. "It's ours." The alien's eyes widened. Then, without another word, he turned and vanished into the crowd. John stared after him. "What was that about?" Lyra's fingers tightened around the pendant. "I don't know." But her voice trembled. That night, John did something he hadn't before. He researched. Plugging into the colony's data net, he pulled up records on alien species, searching for anything resembling the twins. Most files were incomplete, but one archive caught his eye. The Vayani Empire, extinct after the siege of Kelshar. His breath hitched. The image attached showed a royal family, 2 adults, their features eerily similar to Cale and Lyra. And around the queen's neck, the same pendant. John's pulse raced. Orphans, my ass. These kids weren't just refugees. They were royalty. John stared at the flickering holoscreen, the words, "Last heirs of the Vayani throne," burning into his vision. His fingers hovered over the console, hesitating. If this was true, then Cale and Lyra weren't just orphans, they were targets. A soft shuffling sound made him turn. Cale stood in the doorway, his glowing eyes narrowed. "You've been acting strange," the boy said. His voice was calm, but his claws flexed slightly at his sides. John quickly minimized the screen. "Just checking trade routes." "Couldn't sleep." Cale didn't blink. "You're lying." A tense silence stretched between them. Then, with a sigh, John gestured to the chair beside him. "Sit down. We need to talk." 10 minutes later, Lyra joined them, her pendant clutched tightly in her small hands. The twins listened as John explained what he'd found: the fallen empire, the royal family, the siege that had wiped out their world. "So, we're not just survivors," Lyra whispered. "We're important," Cale finished, his jaw tightening. "Which means someone out there is still looking for us." John nodded grimly. "And not to give you a crown." Lyra's fingers traced the symbols on her pendant. "These markings, our parents never told us what they meant." John leaned forward. But someone recognized it. That stranger in the market, he knew. Cale stood abruptly. "We have to leave." "What?" John blinked. "Kid, Terra 9 might not be fancy, but it's safe." "No. It's not." Cale's voice was low, urgent. "If one person recognized us, more will come. And they won't ask questions first." Lyra looked up at John, her large eyes pleading. "Please." John exhaled sharply. He'd signed up for babysitting, not a galactic conspiracy. But the thought of handing them over, or worse, abandoning them, made his stomach twist. "All right," he muttered, grabbing his comlink. "But we do this smart. I know a guy who can get us off-world quietly." The next morning, the trio slipped through the colony's back alleys, hoods drawn low. John's contact, a grizzled old smuggler named Rhett, waited by a rusted cargo hauler. "Took you long enough," Rhett grunted, eyeing the twins. These the packages? John shot him a warning look. They're kids, Rhett. Rhett popped the ship's hatch. Well, hop in. We lift off in 5. As they boarded, Lyra hesitated, glancing back at the colony. What if we're wrong? What if no one's after us? Before John could answer, a shout echoed from the street. There! The blue-skinned ones! A group of armored figures charged toward them, mercenaries, their helmets scanning the area with predatory focus. Kale yanked Lyra inside. Go! Rhett didn't need telling twice. The ship's engines roared to life, lifting off just as the first laser blast scorched the ground beneath them. John slammed the hatch shut, heart pounding. You were saying, Lyra? The girl swallowed hard. In orbit, Rhett set a course for the outer rim. So, he drawled, who exactly did you piss off? John rubbed his temples. Best case scenario? Just a bunch of hired guns. And worst case? Kale answered flatly, the people who murdered our family. The cockpit fell silent. Lyra touched her pendant again, the symbols now glowing faintly, a reaction John had never seen before. Rhett whistled. Yeah. You're definitely not just kids. John stared out the viewport at the stars. He'd thought he was just giving 2 orphans a home. Now? He was in the middle of a war. The smuggler's ship rattled as it broke Atmo, leaving Terra 9's mercenaries behind. John kept his eyes on the scanner, half expecting pursuit. But the stars remained empty, for now. Lyra's pendant pulsed brighter. That's new, Rhett muttered, eyeing the glow. Kale reached out, then jerked his hand back as a spark jumped to his fingers. It's warm. John exchanged a glance with Rhett. Any idea what that means? Before anyone could answer, Lyra gasped. Her eyes, already luminous, flared like twin stars. The pendant's light wrapped around her wrist, forming intricate patterns on her skin. Lyra. Kale grabbed her shoulders. What's happening? She didn't answer. Her voice came out layered, echoing, as if speaking through water. The bloodline remembers. Then she collapsed. The med scanner beeped erratically over Lyra's still form in the ship's cramped bunk. John wiped sweat from his brow. Vitals are stable, but I've got no damn clue what that was. Kale hadn't left his sister's side. It's the pendant. It's alive somehow. Rhett leaned against the doorway. Kid, I've hauled everything from black market organs to rebel AI cores. That thing? It's old tech. Like, lost civilization old. John's comlink buzzed, an encrypted message. The sender ID made his stomach drop, unknown, priority override. The screen displayed 3 words. Return them. Or die. Kale saw it. His claws dug into the mattress. They'll never stop hunting us. John deleted the message. Then we find out why. Deep space hummed outside as Rhett plotted a course to the one place no one would follow, the graveyard of Kelshar, the twins' dead homeworld. Lyra woke screaming. She thrashed, images flooding her mind, a palace burning, voices shrieking, her mother's last words, hide them. The bloodline must survive. Kale held her until the visions passed. When she finally stilled, her whisper chilled the room. I know where we need to go. The ruins of Kelshar loomed through the viewport, a shattered planet, its surface scarred by orbital strikes. No life. No hope. Just bones and dust. Yet Lyra's pendant pulled them toward it like a magnet. Rhett adjusted the thrusters. This is suicide. That rock's crawling with radiation and... Land, Lyra commanded. Her voice held an authority that silenced argument. As the ship touched down, John noticed something impossible. Amid the ruins, a single structure stood intact, a spire of black crystal, untouched by war. Kale inhaled sharply. We've seen this before. In our dreams. Lyra stepped onto the dead soil. The pendant's light now stretched ahead like a beacon, illuminating a path only they could follow. John checked his pistol. Stay behind me. But the twins were already walking, not as frightened children, but as heirs returning home. The spire's entrance yawned open. Inside, the walls shimmered with the same symbols as Lyra's pendant. And at the center, floating above an ancient pedestal. A crown. The air inside the spire tasted like static, sharp and alive. John's boots crunched on crystalline dust as he followed the twins, pistol drawn but useless against the unnatural stillness. The floating crown pulsed in time with Lyra's pendant. Its design matched the markings on her skin, jagged silver arcs woven into a circlet, humming with dormant energy. Kale reached for it. Wait. John grabbed his wrist. We don't know what that. Lyra stepped forward. It's ours. Her fingers brushed the crown. Light exploded. John's vision whited out. When it cleared, the twins were changed. Kale stood taller, his blue skin now traced with luminous veins. Lyra's hair floated as if underwater, the crown resting perfectly on her brow. Their eyes blazed like supernovas. And they weren't alone. Ghostly figures shimmered into existence, tall, regal aliens with the same glowing markings. The Ve'ani. One stepped forward, speaking directly into their minds. The bloodline awakens. John staggered back. Okay, what the hell is happening? Rhett cursed, backing toward the exit. We are way out of our depth, pal. The vision unfolded around them. A grand hall materialized, showing the twins as infants, swaddled in royal silks. Their parents, the king and queen, whispered urgently to a hooded guardian. Take them far. The usurper comes. Then fire. Screams. The guardian fleeing with two crying bundles as the palace burned behind them. Lyra gasped. They saved us. Kale's voice hardened. But not themselves. The ghosts bowed. The eldest spoke again. Claim your birthright. Or all is lost. Reality snapped back. The spire trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling as the crown's light dimmed. Rhett grabbed John's arm. Ships picking up incoming. Warship signature, big bastard, closing fast. John whirled to the twins. We need to go. But Kale and Lyra stood transfixed, sharing a silent conversation. Finally, Lyra touched her brother's cheek. You feel it too, she whispered. Kale nodded. The power. The knowledge. John's comlink screeched with proximity alerts. They were out of time. The usurper's dreadnought filled the viewport as they blasted away from Kelshar. Rhett wrestled the controls. That's no merc crew, that's a fleet. John watched the twins. Lyra's fingers danced over alien controls only she could see, her crown flickering. Kale's claws dug into the armrests, his markings flaring brighter with every evasive maneuver Rhett attempted. Then Lyra spoke a single word. Shields. A pulse of light erupted from the crown. The smuggler's ship shimmered, and the incoming torpedoes passed right through them like ghosts. Rhett gaped. Did we just phase out of reality? Kale bared his teeth in something between a grin and a snarl. Now you see why they want us dead. John's stomach dropped. This wasn't just about royalty. The twins were weapons. And someone wanted to control them. The smuggler's ship shuddered as it dropped out of phase, reality snapping back into place with a teeth-rattling jolt. Rhett white-knuckled the controls, veins bulging in his temples. Next time, he growled, warn me before you turn my ship into a ghost." Lyra ignored him, her crown still humming. Her eyes, now fully black with pinpricks of starlight, locked onto the tactical display. The dreadnought loomed behind them, but smaller fighters now streaked ahead, cutting off escape vectors. Kale's claws flexed. "They're hurting us." John checked weapon systems. One pistol, half-charged. Useless. "Got any other magic tricks?" Lyra tilted her head as if listening to something distant. "Yes. But not here." She pointed to the NAV screen, a nearby nebula, its swirling gases blotting out sensors. Rhett snorted. "That's a death trap. Radiational fry hour." "Go," Kale commanded. His voice carried the same unnatural weight as his sister's. The smuggler muttered a prayer and punched the thrusters. The nebula swallowed them whole. Static screamed through comms. The cockpit lights flickered as cosmic dust scraped against the hull. John's skin prickled, the place felt alive. Lyra stood abruptly, her crown flaring. "Stop the ship." Rhett barked a laugh. "In this soup? Wheel. Now." He slammed the brakes. A heartbeat later, a jagged asteroid the size of a city slid past their nose. John exhaled. "Okay. New rule? We listen to the glowy kids." Kale pressed his palms against the viewport. "This isn't just a nebula. It's a graveyard." As the dust cleared slightly, the truth emerged: wreckage. Thousands of ships, ancient and modern, drifting in the neon haze. Lyra's whisper sent chills down John's spine. The usurper's first victims. A signal pierced the static. Not from the dreadnought, from below. A looping message in garbled Vayani. Kale translated automatically: "Sanctuary, survivors." John's head snapped up. "There are more of you?" The twins exchanged a glance, then moved in unison to the airlock. Rhett blocked them. "Whoa. Even if that's a friendly, which I doubt, we step out there, we're space dust in 10 seconds. Lyra touched his chest. A single pulse from her crown silenced his protests. "Trust us," she said softly. Then she cycled the lock. The Sanctuary was a derelict colony ship, its hull scarred by centuries of battle. The twins led the way, their markings lighting the corroded corridors. John's boots sank into something organic. "Please tell me that's not." A blade pressed against his throat. Figures emerged from the shadows, Vayani. Dozens. Their eyes burned with the same light as the twins, but dimmer. Flickering. The eldest, a warrior missing half her face, fell to her knees. "The bloodline returns," she croaked. Kale helped her up. "You've been hiding here, all this time?" The warrior nodded. "Waiting. The usurper's poison eats our power. But you," she touched Lyra's crown. "You can undo it." Lyra closed her eyes. The crown's light spread through the ruined ship like dawn, bathing the survivors. Their markings brightened. Their backs straightened. John watched, awed, as a dead people stirred back to life. Then the ship shook. Alarms wailed. The warrior snarled. "He's found us." On the view screen, the dreadnought silhouette eclipsed the nebula's glow. And this time, it wasn't alone. The dreadnought's shadow swallowed the derelict colony ship. Weapon ports glowed red across its belly, charging for a killing strike. John grabbed a rusted support beam as the deck trembled. "We need to move. Now." The Vayani survivors didn't panic. They turned as one to the twins, their eyes reflecting Lyra's crown like broken mirrors catching dawn light. The scarred warrior bared her teeth. "Command us, Bloodline." Kale and Lyra exchanged a glance, and changed. Lyra's crown blazed. Kale's markings ignited like live wires. Together, they spoke, their voices layered with generations of dead kings and queens. We fight. The derelict ship groaned to life. Ancient systems flared online as the twins' power surged through its bones. John watched in awe as the Veilani crew moved with sudden precision, manning gun turrets that hadn't fired in centuries. Rhett sprinted to a cracked console. "I'll get the engines." Lyra touched the panel. It repaired itself under her fingers. "No. We don't run." Kale strode to the viewport, staring down the armada. "We end this." John grabbed his shoulder. "Kid, that's a fleet." Kale turned. His eyes held galaxies. "And we are Veilani." The ship lurched, not away, but toward the enemy. Battle was chaos. The twins stood back to back in the ruined bridge, their power weaving through the ship like a second nervous system. Lyra's crown projected shields that flickered but held. Kale's claws carved tactical holograms from thin air, directing survivors with a general's instinct. John manned a scavenged plasma cannon, firing at fighters that slipped through. Rhett. Port side. The smuggler yanked the controls, spinning them just as a torpedo grazed past. "Remind me why I didn't ditch you lunatics on Terra, 9? A Veilani warrior laughed as she gunned down a boarding pod. "Destiny." Then the dreadnought's main cannon flared. Lyra screamed. The blast hit her shields like a hammer, cracking them. Blood trickled from her nose. Kale roared and pushed his hands forward. A psychic shockwave rippled out, scattering the nearest fighters like leaves in a storm. But the dreadnought loomed closer. The usurper revealed himself. A hologram flickered on the bridge, a towering Veilani with eyes like smothered coals and a crown of jagged obsidian. "Little heirs," he sneered. "You inherited a corpse. Kneel, and I'll make your deaths quick." Lyra wiped her bloodied lip. "You murdered our family. I purged weakness." The hologram leaned in. "Your power belongs to the strong." Kale bared his fangs. "Then come take it." The hologram vanished. The dreadnought's cannon charged again, this time at point-blank range. John's stomach dropped. "We're dead." Lyra grabbed his hand. Kale took the other. "No," they said together. "We are Veilani." The crown's light exploded. Reality tore. John's vision fragmented. For a heartbeat, he saw everything, the twins as children, as rulers, as legends not yet written. The colony ship phased, but not away, through the dreadnought's hull, materializing inside its core. Alarms wailed. The usurper's scream echoed through comms. Lyra looked at Kale. He nodded. Together, they clenched their fists. The dreadnought's reactor imploded. Silence. John gasped as the colony ship tumbled free of the expanding debris field. The armada, leaderless, scattered like startled birds. The scarred warrior fell to her knees. The bloodline prevails. Lyra's crown dimmed. Kale's markings faded. They slumped, just kids again, exhausted. John caught them both. You won." Kale managed a weak grin. "We won." Rhett hooped, spinning the ship toward open space. "So. Where to now, your majesties?" Lyra leaned against John, her whisper barely audible. "Home." Epilogue. Terra 9's sun rose over a rebuilt homestead. The twins, no longer hiding, stood with their people in the open, their markings glowing softly. John adjusted his dusty hat, watching human and Veilani workers side by side.